We're really running through these MCU Revisiteds, huh?
How much more do we have? It was like 5 more, 6 more?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an awful guess.
Was it?
Yeah. Do you know how many MCU movies there are?
Wait, are we going through all of them? Like, we're going to rewatch...
Yeah,
Like-
Endgame, Infinity War, the whole shebang.
Little X-Men Fox detour in the middle.
Wow. We got a lot then.
Go over to DC a little.
We're not doing that. We don't have the budget for that.
Snyder's coming out, though, no?
That was my favorite knife.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Bo Oliver, joined here today with Aaron and Teddy, and we are back to continue our MCU Revisited series with Guardians of the Galaxy. One of my favorites. Quite possibly my second favorite movie in the MCU, although they do alternate a bit. It's hard to maintain a 1, 2, and 3 spot, but this is firmly in the top 3 for me. It's a movie that I saw. This is the most I saw an MCU movie in theaters. Went back 4 times to see this bad boy.
Really?
Couldn't get enough of it. It's a movie that I throw it on, and I'm instantly invested, man. I think it's got the best cold opening to Marvel title screen.
I cried in that opening scene. Literally, I cried.
Love, don't forget it.
Yeah,
And it perfectly sets the tone for this movie. It's the perfect introduction to Peter Quill, that the cassette tape is going to play such an important role in his journey. The loss of his mom, it hits you, man.
No, it's tough. And I think one of the standouts of this movie is the soundtrack. And the way they incorporate it from that cassette tape that he got from his dying mother is so well done. And it's kind of like it fits because that's how they introduced the soundtrack. I love the immigrant song in Thor, but it kind of comes out of nowhere a little.
Right.
Because just of the setting and all that, I still love it. And I still think it's an incredible scene. But the way they incorporate this type of music into this movie through that way I think is just done so well.
Well, the first title card, he's on this mysterious planet. He's investigating. He's got the cool mask on. Takes it off, pulls out the cassette tape, and Come and Get Your Love comes on. I get chills just talking about
Me
it.
too.
It's so delightful. Chris Pratt jumping around, kicking, dancing his ass off. It's Indiana Jones in space. And like you said, the way that the soundtrack, the musical cues throughout the movie are all perfect. They all come in at the perfect time, man. The Pina Colada song when he's retrieving the orb, Drax, behold. And he's just fucking flying in space.
Such a great fucking shot.
It is.
Behold.
I think it might be the best use of a soundtrack in any movie ever. Or it's got to be up there. Just using popular songs. You know, obviously the score is very good, but it's a soundtrack that is one of the most memorable aspects of the movie.
I agree with what you guys just said, but I think Chris Pratt is the most memorable thing from this movie. He was... How shocked, because I wasn't too big on Guardians. I didn't even know about Guardians.
Nobody was.
Is this not a comic book?
No, it is a comic book. But there was one friend I have, Frank Will. I'll shout out Frankie. He was a big he was the comic book guy in high school.
Yeah.
Loved the Guardians. So when this was announced, he was thrilled. But no one else in the world knew who the fuck they were. I mean,
we only know Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec at the time, right?
He was a Moneyball.
he was the first baseman in Moneyball. Transition from catcher to first base.
No, but think about it. How much
Not
of a
easy to do, you would think.
No.
How much of a risk
Got
was
on
this?
base.
A movie that pretty much, I say a good majority, no one really knew. And you're starring Chris Pratt, who's a funny guy. He's not really... You wouldn't put him as a superhero.
Well, let me paint this picture for our audience.
Well, don't start.
The trailer comes out in spring 2014. Send it to Teddy. He wants nothing to do with it. Won't even watch the trailer. Looks at the thumbnail and says, I'd only watch that for the raccoon. Okay.
That's not bad. Come on.
Opening night.
That's still fair.
Yeah.
But he could see the appeal, even from the raccoon. Opening night comes along. Me and Aaron go by ourselves. Enjoy the movie. Watch the movie. Come out. Who do we see? Teddy. Oh, Ted, you went to see Guardians? Nah, man, I just got out of Ninja Turtles.
I'm never going to live that down.
To this day, I'm still just disgusted with you.
I wasn't into Marvel.
That's
really.
why it was a risk.
Yeah.
Because they were so unknown. It was weird, right? You watched that first trailer and you thought, what the hell
What
is
this?
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Especially coming after Avengers, to drop your anti-Avengers movie 2 years later after the success that you just had.
But this has nothing to do with Marvel until, it comes with the stone. But there's no Iron Man, there's no Cap, there's no Thor. I don't know who you're promoting besides Chris Pratt. It's like, bravo, man.
Yeah, that's a great point. Seriously. I mean, Chris Pratt is your lead coming, and that's the joke in honest trailers, right? That Marvel, we're gonna take the chubby guy from Parks and Rec and turn him into a movie star. Fuck you, we're Marvel.
Yeah.
And you did it.
No, I think it's
But
obvious.
he's clearly, there was talent there that they noticed, obviously,
Yeah.
because he's charismatic as hell in this role.
Well, I love Star-Lord. He's probably one of my favorite characters, and obviously for me, I've talked about it numerous times. It's right. It's this and Winter Soldier, two opposite movies, but two of my favorite in the MCU. And I think the strongest part, along with the soundtrack, is just the cast. Everybody is so perfect in this role, and they work so well together. The chemistry between Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, fucking Bradley Cooper, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot, Vin Diesel. It's just perfect. It's the perfect group, and they work so well off each other. And
They couldn't have saved money with Vin Diesel.
I know, right?
They couldn't have gotten me. They could have slid me a nice crisp $100 bill. I would have done the voiceover work over the probably week that he was in the studio, if that.
Not even a day.
like a dude in a bunch of different languages. He worked at it.
That is true. I'll give Vin Diesel is a polyglot.
Yo soy Groot.
No, the cast, you hit the nail on the head, man. And the characters are all so similar. I mean, there are little differences here and there, but Chris Pratt even acknowledges it, that we're a group of ragtag losers who have lost so much that it's put us on these bad paths of life. And, it is Gamora. Watching this, I felt so sentimental towards Gamora, knowing that this was the movie where she was trying to break away from the identity of being the lackey of a genocidal maniac and being Thanos' daughter. This was the first effort she makes to atone for her sins, and that's really what this is. It's all these individuals who are broken, who have lost things, coming together to form this dysfunctional family, and all of their motivations align perfectly. You can make the argument that just the chemistry, the camaraderie, is more fun to watch than watching an Avengers movie.
Do you guys think that?
Yeah, I like this movie better than most of it, like all the Avengers movies. It's up ahead of Endgame for me and Infinity War. It's number 2 after Winter Soldier, so...
Take away Winter Soldier. This is probably the most fun I've had watching a Marvel movie with this crew. Do you guys think that this is where the comedy hit at all aspects? 'Cause I think it was. I was chuckling watching the movie.
Well, yeah, because
It was so funny.
big criticism of MCUs is forced humor, and
Yeah.
but it works so well with this group and these characters that's like not a criticism at all. It actually makes the movie as good as it is.
Right. Like that scene between Gamora and Star-Lord when he's trying to seduce her. And she has the headphones on and she's screaming while she has the knife to his neck. And he's like, what's going on? What's happening?
Even jokes like the pop culture references here are great. When Quill tells Rocket, if you had a black light, this shit would look like a Jackson Pollock painting. And everyone goes, how does Rocket know who Jackson Pollock... How does Quill know who Jackson Pollock is? Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
It's funny. And that's what the MCU has done such a great job of, is their comedy. It makes fun of the genre. They poke fun at themselves. They're not taking it too seriously. And this is the movie where, like you said, this is kind of the comedic standard. This is where it works the best. And it's kind of just the tone of the movie, too. Where a lot of the times where the comedy just doesn't fit in movies where the tone is not similar to a Guardians. But with the tone being so lighthearted, it just all fits.
When it had to be serious, it was serious.
Yeah, like shit like Rocket asking for the leg is so funny.
Yeah.
And that whole jailhouse sequence is probably one of my favorite scenes of the movie. It's so perfect. Everything from, like I said, Rocket asking for the leg, and then
I need that guy's
Groot,
leg.
That's
Yeah.
when he says, when Rocket's talking about getting the light last or the
yeah,
battery
Groot
last.
grabs
in
it
the background.
and hands it to him.
I get such a kick out of when he says, we need a freaking Cornex battery, so figure it out.
I got one plan, and that plan requires a frickin' Quarnix battery, so figure it out! Can I get back to it?
Bradley Cooper completely loses himself in that character, man. That is one of the most impressive voiceover roles for a celebrity. You don't even realize it's Cooper.
I didn't find out it was Cooper until like a couple months after.
I've heard that from so many people, but
I can't. Even now, I know it's him. I'm trying to listen, and see his face talking. I'm like, I can't do it.
he loses himself in that like old school New York Joe Pesci type accent. But the prison break scene, man, when Drax throws him the gun and the slow motion, oh yeah, to them screaming and then transitioning to Quill. You need my what? It's just so perfect. Every aspect of the prison break
30,000
scene.
units he had to transfer. He said
Yeah.
for no reason. Can you tell me how I started feeling for a raccoon? Like the scene when he was drunk, explaining what happened to him and why he is the way he is. When he's like, "You call me a vermin," I'm like, "Oh my god, I feel real bad for you."
Yeah,
I'm feeling for a raccoon.
Because throughout the movie, they're like throwaway lines. Careful while you're going in, rodent.
Yeah.
You don't think that that's going to come back, but you see how this shit really affects him. That he is the most. I mean, he's the best part of the movie for me. He's a talking raccoon who, similar to a Vision character, he was kind of just birthed out of nowhere, and he's a super genius. So all of his personality is just pure emotion. It's just pure trying to have the.
He's
the
very
most,
much a raccoon that just came alive. Like he knows what he is.
right, and he's just all about the thrills.
Yeah.
When he's in the ship making makeshift bombs, and he's like, "That's for blowing up moons and shit." They're like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, guy?" No, he's got a lot of issues, and they get into that in part 2. But he's just the best. He's so delightful. He's so ridiculous. He's so cute. He is my favorite part of this movie.
And Dave Bautista as Drax too. I think in later movies they kind of overdid it with him, but I think he has that perfect blend in this movie.
Right, he's like the pretentious fish out of water. He's better than these other criminals. He doesn't care about money. It's only about vengeance. And I do have that critique of the character in part 2 and in other movies that they make him a caricature of what he was in this movie. But he does mention
They go over
that
the head with it.
he was leaning into his anger and his rage. And you can kind of, I guess, you see the more delightful aspects of his personality as the battle starts.
But it's like he gets drunk and he calls out who he's pissed off at, and that's how everything goes down. It's like it makes sense. They're all hammered.
Right, and all of these characters have this past trauma that they're dealing with, and it very much influences a lot of the bad decisions they make. I mean, Drax calling in this fucking army. Terrible decision. And that's another part of this movie that I enjoyed, that there's a clear power difference between Drax and Ronan. And Ronan just fucking turns him into a grilled cheese.
Did you guys enjoy Ronan? Did you guys like his villain?
Well, that's one of the main criticisms of this movie is Ronan, and I believe in the comics, like he's a big character and very powerful, and I don't mind him, but I can see that criticism.
They call me terrorist, radical. I like that part.
Yo, he had Thanos shook.
My problem with Ronan is that he doesn't wreck shop enough. I feel like the scenes where we're getting into why he's so against Xandar, he's a space terrorist, and that's what the world building is: space terrorists, you have space pirates, you have space society. There's a lot of space shit, but he's just this insane, radicalized, superpowered terrorist. But he's not cool when he's fighting. He doesn't really do much with the staff. That moment is so great when he rips out the Power Stone, smashes into the staff, threatens Thanos. And then he just doesn't do anything. And the best scene that involves Ronan is also a scene that involves a better villain, which is Thanos.
Yeah.
So,
man, seeing Thanos in this movie is so.
He sounds so different.
That's Brolin.
He looks different.
They changed a lot.
He looks different, without a doubt. He's more purple here.
Yeah.
That was a surprise, right?
Yeah, dude. When they transitioned to that, I was shaking in my seat. I was like, "We're about to see Big Daddy. We're about to see Big Daddy T." And he turns around. And it's just the great contrast there of, like I mentioned, an individual with political motivations, and Thanos just says, "Your politics bore me. If you come back to me empty-handed, I'm just gonna fucking murder you." I could not care less about that shit. I've got Infinity Stones on my mind.
Ronan came in hot though. He came in like terrifying with that scene when he's getting bathed, and he comes out to the guy when he comes out to the prisoner and he hammers his head in.
It's a menacing
terrifying
scene, I love that introduction, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere, where the tone up until this point has been more lighthearted, and then he never breaks that character, and that's something I wanted to see out of Ultron in Age of Ultron. He's just committed to his goals, but he could have been better. I mean, he's like a mid-level villain.
There's not a lot of characterization with him, so.
And if you do,
it's more about the Guardians though. It's not more about Ronan.
That's
the heroes are so interesting. You don't want to take away from that.
And like we said, even like a lot of the supporting characters around the main Guardians, like Yondu, who plays a bigger part in the Volume 2. It is always funny. I get a nice chuckle when I think about like the father-son relationship they push in the second one, and seeing in the first one, it's like, he's just trying to kill him the whole movie.
I just realized the line that Yondu's henchman said. He's like, we should have dropped him off at his dad like we were supposed to. And he's like, no, his dad can be a bit of a dick sometimes.
They hint at that a bit. That ego is out there, but I always chalk that up because I've seen that complaint from other people. You're my stepdad from I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, I do love the whistle arrow though. That's fucking awesome.
His whistle is nice.
The whistle arrow is, I mean, that's the thing. Every character gets just such a cool moment to show off what they can do. When it's just that simple scene of him taking out all those ships after he crash lands. But I like to chalk up their dynamic to they're gangsters. They're pirates. It's like Tony and Christopher in The Sopranos. Like one day you love them, the next day you want to slit their throat. And Star-Lord's like, we got a ringer.
Even on his, even on his way down after getting hit Yondu.
I'll see you after this, boy.
Yeah, don't forget.
You better not forget about me.
And then after he just watched everything that happened, he's like, yeah.
Dude, and
Did you not see what just happened?
I love Michael Rooker as his character. The makeup
Me too.
looks fantastic, and like you said, the arrow fin is a great power. But the Southern accent, the relationship with Quill, the fact that all he cares about is his next score. He was the supporting characters throughout. I know you're not a big Nebula fan, but we
I'm
get
not either.
more. Yeah, you guys both don't like Nebula.
Even after watching this, so I like her character. I really just can't grasp her voice, man. I really don't like the way she sounds.
I've heard that complaint from a lot of people. I've always liked Nebula. She's the tortured android who they really develop both of those characters throughout the next couple of movies.
Well,
Nebula and Gamora.
Gamora's great in this movie. I think that's why I kind of like hate what happened to her in Endgame or Infinity War, because you kind of have to redo that, I guess, now with that character if they're gonna put her back to where she was. And I think her development and the way where she goes from the beginning of this movie till when we see her in Infinity War, I think is very well done. And she's a great character. And like you said, her realizing that she doesn't want to be a part of this anymore and kind of trying to break free from that and having that redemption in this film, I think is really, really well done. And she plays off so well with Star-Lord.
Right, yeah, just the way that their relationship starts where she's acting like she's into him, she's flirting with him, and it's the perfect way to reel him in. And all of these characters are just so afraid of commitment. They're sharing that nice moment. It's a beautiful shot where you have the galaxies in the distance between Star-Lord and Gamora, and they're about to kiss, and she pulls a fucking knife out on him. These are tortured characters,
Pelvic sorcery.
Pelvic sorcery, right? Yeah, yeah.
And she's screaming with the headphones on because she can't realize how loud it is.
The melody is pleasant.
And it's Quill, going back to the beginning, that he never gets the chance to say goodbye to his mom. He doesn't want to admit that she's actually gone. And he's the first one to try and embrace these relationships, to kind of bring them together. So you see that he's the natural leader of the group, and he is the one that inspires them. He gives that very Captain America-esque speech when they're all standing in a circle, as Rocket says. And this is an opportunity for them to feel like he says, to give a shit, to give back to the world rather than complaining about what the world has taken from them.
I think the moments of reflection from Star-Lord too are they pack a lot of emotion. So obviously it is a really funny movie, but there is a lot of emotion to these characters and aspects of the movie. And I think one of the saddest things is fucking We Are Groot. That always gets me.
Holy shit, we haven't talked about Groot.
It's one of the saddest moments of the movie, in any MCU movie.
We are Groot.
I texted Bo and I said Groot sacrificing himself is probably one of the saddest things I've seen on TV.
Dude, because he's dead. That baby Groot is not that Groot. It's his offspring.
Yeah.
So you watch this Groot in this movie, you fall in love with him, and then you lose him at the end.
It's so funny because he's just such a lovable character, and there's a simplicity to him, but then he turns into a murder machine, and it's so funny when he smiles after he just fucking kills a bunch of people. It's so great.
Is that 100% that Baby Groot is his offspring?
Yeah.
Because his offspring does the same thing in Infinity War when he comes back with Thor and he just beating everyone to hell.
Like father, like son. Yeah. He got that move from his dad. Like you said, the comedy, the way that they play off of him, he's used so perfectly. Like when Drax says, I have no interest in money, and Star-Lord's like, more for the three of us, and Groot's off to the side. What about
me?
Oh,
you wake up for the money, huh?
Yeah, and that dynamic, it's Han Solo and Chewbacca as a raccoon in a tree. That's why comics are awesome. And I just commended Marvel for doing this with WandaVision, but it's not an exact adaptation of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they pulled from the elements. They didn't shy away from putting the raccoon in the tree in the spotlight. Now so many people want them to have a spin-off movie. They were two of the best characters in Infinity War. They fit right in with a character like Thor. So I think now, because they are so iconic, that is a risk, making two of your characters a raccoon in a tree. And the CGI, they look real.
Yeah, they look fantastic.
You never doubt that these are real creatures.
Visuals in this movie were amazing.
Yeah, the way they paint this cosmic side of the universe. We saw a bit of it with Thor, but this is really opening those cosmic doors and getting into some...
Such a bigger universe than what we think.
The way it's shot, a lot of the colors, there's so much character to that. And I think it works so perfectly with the soundtrack, with the characters, and combining all of those elements. It's just a really good, entertaining, fun movie.
Right.
So
And it's so sarcastic at the appropriate times when Star-Lord saves Gamora and he's going off about how heroic he was, and
Yeah.
she just sighs, gives him the side eye.
So paint a picture for me. When you found out Guardians was coming out and James Gunn was directing it, was this a shoe-in, James Gunn, or was this a risk, putting James Gunn on this?
I mean, at the time, he hasn't really done that many movies, so it's amazing. A lot of their movies are directors who either coming from TV or maybe have one feature film under their belt. They just do a good job of vetting their talent. So yeah, at the time, I was just more excited because I was so invested with what they were already doing with
Right.
the other movies.
Yeah.
I wasn't too familiar with James Gunn, but
Now,
we
I-
also have to shout out Nicole Perlman, who was the writer, the co-writer on this movie, who really pushed this idea to Marvel Studios. She was the one that said, hey, we
Good for
can
her.
do this. This is how we can introduce the cosmic side of the universe. Doesn't get as much love as James Gunn, but
Is that what the point of this movie was to open it up?
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we got some more. Obviously, Thanos and the Infinity Stone and things like that, kind of giving us more backstory on a lot of those things.
Well, the Collector, that's your boy, right? Both of you guys are big Collector guys. I think he's hilarious in this too. He's so awkward and weird,
Yeah.
and he's just an underworld art collector. That's what he is.
I love how like
Trying to figure out what he was and what he. I want to know what his plan was because he's trying to get all of them. So like, what's his plan?
I just want to point out quick when his slave servant goes down to retrieve them when they're all at the bar.
Yeah.
And the elevator doors open. Rocket like points his gun at her real quick. That man is ready to pop
Yeah,
off
he
at
is.
any second. But yeah, the Collector, Benicio del Toro. Like I said, I thought he was comical. And he gives us the history lesson, right, of the Infinity
Yeah.
Stones. That's really opening the doors. Like
Right.
this is where all
Setting
of
the
this is
universe
heading.
up, man.
I don't know how she saw that and was like, I can grab one of these.
Bro, I know. What are you doing?
She's like, I can.
yeah, she
make
saw
this
her
grab.
chance, man. Go for it, right?
She watched like the Julio Jones highlight tape and said, I can make that grab. Just tip it to myself. You can kind of view it as just a servant committing suicide, right?
Maybe.
It's like a very disturbing.
I think she just saw her way out and was like, "Oh, I need that power. Give me that."
Right, or like it's either gonna kill me or I have this new
Exactly,
power,
yeah.
and it's disturbing. It's like I will no longer be your
saw the
slave.
video of like the 6 people holding it that died. She's like, yeah, RP,
Yeah, I can
RP to them, but I'm built
I
different.
can handle that. I'm built different.
Different, yeah.
And I think there is something that most people who even like the movie don't like is the dance battle. Where
I
do
don't
you
know.
stand
I thought
on
it was
that?
funny.
I think
liked
it's-
it. Man.
I think the idea of having this
I gotta
high
be honest.
fantasy space terrorist shouting things in a foreign space language, and all of a sudden you hear Star-Lord, "Ooh, child." It's amazing because that's how he would react. Like, what the fuck are you doing? This is-
Exactly.
I've never seen someone sing. I've never seen someone dance.
and I'm about to kill you, and you're dancing. Like, what's going on? It's
He's
like I'm
like-
trying to distract you.
He's
dumb.
throwing it to Gamora. Subtle. Take it back. Right, yeah, no, he's distracting him. And that's the thing with the soundtrack is it introduced me to new music, like some Bowie. Wasn't really into Bowie at the time. But it also recalled songs that my parents used to play around the house. Like, James Gunn obviously had some cool-ass parents.
Yeah.
Like, if this is the range of music that he was listening to, little Motown, little Bowie, some classic rock. I'm getting chills thinking about Ooh Child. Like, Ooh Child! I love that song. And he uses it to distract the villain. I don't know. I like it, obviously.
too.
I think it's funny.
Good move
It's-
going for the stone too, not him.
It's a subversion. Right, yeah.
It's a
no,
good
that is
grab.
a good move.
Yeah, it
it
was
is.
a good grab.
And to me, the moment of when the real score comes in and he's like, "You're mortal. How?" Like, you said it yourself, bitch. It's one of the most satisfying triumphs over a villain. To call him a bitch.
Yeah, when they say, when Ronan says, "You're Guardians of the Galaxy,"
Right, yeah, he's mocking them. He's
Yeah.
giving them this, and they turn that, they flip it on his head as 2 minutes later, and it's great. It's very on the nose. They all come together and they're able to wield this power and defeat the villain. And
yeah, it's the scene too when Gamora says, "Grab my hand," and we see Star-Lord have his closure finally with his mom. That was nice to see.
yeah, it's the perfect ending, and this I think it's a great space battle.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Wait, weren't all those guys in like a little hut back at Nova?
No, that's the next movie.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering that. You can't send up drones.
Yeah.
You really just sacrifice like 40,000
Everyone?
soldiers. I like how even their plan during the space battle kind of reflects their personalities. It's clumsy. It's all about brute force. We're just gonna fucking
Yeah.
blow a hole.
Just shoot
and
in
then
there and
yeah,
take it
we're
over.
just gonna shoot in there, slide in, and Drax is laughing. Groot's afraid. And the plan, and like even when the plan doesn't work with the big gun, Rocket just fucking crashes his ship into. It's just all so like they're just making it up as they go,
Yeah.
and by the skin of their teeth, they pull it out.
Improvising, yeah.
Because Star-Lord happens to be a god.
Yeah, right. Who would have saw that?
Spoilers for part 2.
I forget about that all the time. Guardians Volume 2. Oh, man.
And it ends, man. He opens up Awesome Mix Volume 2 and getting the Marvin Gaye, Ain't No Mountain High. Ooh, that's another teary moment for me.
This soundtrack really does slap.
And Gamora, you know, doing
She
a
was
little
feeling it,
bob
bro.
there. Yeah. It's very sweet. It's this dysfunctional group of individuals coming together and forming their family.
They really are. Like, my favorite part of Infinity War is them showing up with the space.
Yeah.
100%.
It's so fucking good. And they're coming in with rubber bands. It's just, it brings a smile to my face every time.
You know it right away. Space. It's the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys have seen 3 movies coming out of the Guardians of the Galaxy? I can't believe we're here getting 3 movies from them.
It was such a box office success at the time, and I think at the time it was the highest grossing August movie. That may have been broken. It's just, that's the thing about the MCU. It feels like there's 3 or 4 lightning in a bottle moments,
Right?
that just kept the universe going strong. That were so necessary to keep the universe going strong. And like we mentioned with Winter Soldier, this is a movie that has not only influenced the MCU, but other films.
And going back to back, too.
Yeah, like I said, 2014 I think is their best year to give us these 2 movies back to back. The only flaw I would have with it is the pods. I just don't like that sequence when they're just flying around in their pods. But I will give them credit, because I'm watching some of the scenes in this movie. I'm like, this is all fake. Like, nothing on screen right now actually exists in reality.
Crazy.
It's just all ones and zeros. So credit to that.
Can we touch on the end credit scene? Who's Howard the Duck, and what is he in the MCU?
There's Howard the Duck.
What is he?
He's a duck named Howard.
How do you put him in an end credit scene and not use him for the rest of...
He was in Endgame.
What? Yeah, he came in, right? Yeah, he was.
Was
I
he?
I looked it up. Yeah, he's in the background holding the gun.
He was there fighting with them?
This is the portal scene,
I have the picture, actually. I was going to send it to you guys.
That is, I did not know that until now. That's exactly why he's there. So he can show up in Endgame.
Your bird's going down.
Well, would you look at that? It's finally over. Hey guys, Bo Oliver here for one final send-off. Now, before I beg you guys to like and share this video, I'd like to thank our very special Patreon pledgers. We are very proud of the community we've been able to build here at NerdSoup, and it would not have been possible without our Patreon supporters. You guys are the true MVPs of this channel. Everything I've said, you keep the fridge full, you keep the lights on. There aren't enough words to thank you guys, but we'll do it anyway. Thank you. And we have a few videos coming up that have been suggested to us by Patreon pledgers. My Hero Academia, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Full Metal Alchemist will be reviewed by Marissa, and yours truly, and Castlevania, which will be reviewed by Marissa and Aaron. And if you'd like to consider donating to our Patreon page, you can visit patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out some of the rewards we offer to our listeners. And really, we'd like to thank everyone who takes the time out of their day to watch our videos. Patreon pledger or not, your support is what keeps us motivated to keep giving the world our opinions on movies and TV shows and video games and pop culture, even though no one asked for it. We're still here, we're still yapping, and we hope you continue to join us. I'm Bo Oliver, and I support this message.